Was a girl running in a group. She had a high-speed motor in a 40 Ford Coupe. She had a racing cam and a supercharged. Look at Buddy, hot rod and large. She's a hot rod. She's a hot rod.
Well, I got to tell you, there's all kinds of stuff going on in the car business, and this is... it's just not the same. It's not the same it was, but what are you going to do? Rivian, there's a story about Rivian coming up, Chuck, where they found another investor. Now, wasn't Rivian heavily invested by Amazon? I just thought they were.
I thought so that Rivian makes their trucks, right? I think.
Yes, for Amazon, yeah.
Right.
I mean, they got a lot of them. And I've talked to a lot of drivers that just don't like them. All right, here's a story, and this starts off a string of stories. These car makers and the parts stores and the dealers and the aftermarket suppliers, everybody is starting to cut back. It's not pretty out here. It's really not. This story just floored me. Advance Auto Parts announced on November 14th, that's today, that it will close more than 500 stores by mid-2025. That's in a hurry. And cut some jobs under a restructuring effort as demand for vehicle parts takes a hit from fewer consumers opting to repair their cars. They're just driving them. They're not, although when we get them at our shop, they're usually in pretty bad shape. It wasn't immediately clear how many jobs would be lost among the store closing. They didn't say. For sure. As part of the turnaround efforts, Advance Auto Parts announced plans to close 523 corporate stores, exit 204 independent locations, and shutter 4 distribution centers by mid-2025. I got to tell you, that sounds like more than a few people. The company aims to improve its adjusted operating income margin by over 500 basis points through the recall. Through fiscal 2027. It expects to incur about $350 million to $750 million of total costs related to the restructuring. And the shares of Advance rose about 7% in the market today.
So then the question becomes, they talk about online competition and things like that. Do we know, is there an influx of basically cheap Chinese knockoff parts?
Oh God, yes. You can go on the internet, you can get all kinds of knockoff parts. You can get parts that are seconds, and you don't even know it.
Well, this becomes the interesting issue as we talk so much about recalls and the NHTSA going after the auto manufacturers.
Uh-huh.
Are they paying attention to these parts? Because you put the wrong part on your car, that could be way more dangerous than anything that you could ever get out of, a Ford or something.
Oh, absolutely.
Like that.
Absolutely. And, and cars that don't start don't kill anybody, but cars that don't stop are bad news.
Well, but again, you can get some, Chinese brake pads that fall apart. You can get, you can get bad spark plugs that cause a fire. I mean, there's a no end of things that a cheap part can do: damage your vehicle, cause harm to you or others.
Oh, I've gotten some parts even now from a reputable parts store, the big suppliers, AC Delco, Motorcraft, Mopar. And all of them, the standard ignition, they're all hurting for people, and things aren't getting put together right. They're not getting boxed right.
Not the glue, not getting glued together.
No,
right.
They're not getting glued together right. Plus, you got to open the box, and you might have the wrong side frame in there. A-frame part. You got to have it for the other side, but it's the part number's right. The part is wrong.
Yeah,
they're just not. The quality control is not there.
Well, and that always seems to be the case. Is you lose the people that know how to do things right, or actually that care to do things right, and then when you're trying to cut the budget, what do? You try to do it quicker and faster, and you lose the quality control.
Well, yeah, and you hire people, and you don't train them enough, and you don't
right.
You don't follow your program. You don't do what you did right to make this right. I'm surprised the union lets them get away with this.
Well, and that's what I'm wondering about. How does that work as far as if you're talking about aftermarket parts? are these the same people that are supplying parts to when they're building the car in the first place?
No, some are, some aren't, but most of them are knockoffs. You can get knockoffs on the internet.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is that who is keeping these knockoff part manufacturers accountable?
Nobody.
Sounds like nobody is.
Nobody is. That's the problem. People think there's one website, I'm not going to name it, but that people go to a lot to buy parts, and half the time they're getting seconds.
Right.
They're not getting first-line parts. And they come to me, well, you put these brakes on my car? No. Because if those things squeak, you're going to think I put them on wrong.
Right.
You're not going to think that part was made bad because you saved a lot of money on that part. You saved $30 over a good set of pads. So now, what is it? Now I'm a horse's patootie because I put them on and now they squeak.
Right.
So you tell me.
I mean, squeaking is better than falling apart and not stopping.
Well, yeah.
Not doing anything would not be good.
But, try and convince somebody whose brakes are squeaking that there's nothing wrong with them.
Right.
They're just cheap pads.
That's what they do.
Yeah, that's what they do. Well, anyway, after Advance closes 500 stores, here comes Nissan. Makoto Ochida. He shifts to he's going to cut 9,000 jobs at Nissan. 9,000 jobs. CEO Makoto Uchida, warning of Nissan's extremely tough situation, has jettisoned key points of his troubled car maker's midterm plan and will slash 9,000 jobs, cut production capacity, and sell a chunk of its stake in Mitsubishi Motors in a bid to reverse Nissan's slide. Nissan is sliding backwards. Not good. Not good at all. Moving into emergency recovery mode, Uchida unveiled the sweeping reform plans November 7th after announcing that Japan's number 3 car maker tumbled to a net loss in the latest quarter. They tend to frown. The executive suits tend to frown on losses, Charles. The CEO took the helm amid the upheaval unleashed by the arrest and ouster of former chairman Carlos the Edsel. Also downgraded the full year sales and operating profit outlooks and rescinded an earlier target for net income, saying it was too soon to give any accurate forecast. They're hurting. They're in trouble. Uchida said more executive shuffles could come in January. Uchida added that would forfeit 50% of its CEO compensation, his CEO compensation, from this month to take responsibility for the slump.
That's how you know things are serious, when the CEO's taking a pay cut.
Yeah, when he takes a pay cut, what do you say, 50%? He's cutting it in half. The new measures aim to carve out nearly $3 billion in additional savings at Nissan. They're all hurting. Chuck, when they were, you know this and I know this, when we talked about this. They're putting all that money into the development of cars and the research and batteries, and now nobody wants them. And now they're not selling. And now what do? They start cutting people's jobs.
Well, and you have to assume that there was a time when they were basically laying off the internal
looking
combustion
rosy,
guys,
yes.
and they're hiring EV guys and going, we're going all EV. We don't need any internal combustion. We're going to go all
we
EV.
don't need you anymore. Yeah.
And then you got all these EV guys sitting around going, okay, well, what do you want me to do? I don't know anything about engines.
Yeah, and all these cars are sitting out in the parking lot. We got all these electric vehicles in that grass lot out back. I mean, thousands. We're making them, and we redesigned them. We researched them. We made the batteries. We got all this money tied up in here. We still don't have a charging system infrastructure, and we still don't have an electrical infrastructure. So I don't feel bad for them at all. Webasto Roofing Systems is planning to lay off 218 employees in Metro Detroit as a result of reduced production by its customers, which is the car business. The supplier, which counts Ford Bronco among its largest programs, well, that's one that was blowing a window out of it, is cutting third shift factories at Plymouth Township, 27 miles west of Detroit, and New Hudson, 30 miles northwest of Detroit, the company confirmed. They're cutting back the layoffs. 156 at the Plymouth plant and 62 in New Hudson take effect December 16th, according to a WARN notice filed with the state. I guess if you're going to cut jobs, you got to tell the state you're going to do that. I don't get why, but are they going to check and make sure you're legit? I mean, it's none of their business. It's private enterprise. The reason for reduced notice is that we are waiting confirmation from the customer to ensure the need for layoffs. The notice said these layoffs are a direct result of production or of reduction in production, which is outside the control of Webasto. Webasto did not name the customer. The Plymouth plant supplies sunroofs to the hardtops for Ford Motor Company's Bronco program, and it was not clear who the New Hudson plant supplies. So they're not saying a lot, but there's another couple hundred guys going down the chutes. Oh yeah, here. They're all cutting back. Everybody is cutting back. Everybody. Ford is putting line employees at its Cologne, Germany, on short-term working because of slowing demand for electric vehicles in Europe. That's because China sells them for 10 grand, Charles. Employees will alternate between working 1 week and taking 1 week off until the Christmas vacation, according to a report in the Kölner Stadt Anzeiger newspaper, whatever that is. Anzeiger. We can confirm that Ford will apply to the federal employment emergency for short-time working due to the rapidly deteriorating market conditions for electric vehicles, a Ford spokesman told the newspaper. Give me a break. Ford has invested $2 billion to convert the factory to build the Explorer and Capri there. Both models use Volkswagen Group's MEB platform under an industrial partnership between Ford and VW Group.
Well, this brings up another interesting question. The federal government spent all this money subsidizing the EV transition.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work, are they going to subsidize switching back the other way?
God only knows.
There was all this money for EVs and all these the manufacturers, the EV manufacturers, all this money to help them. Is there going to be money to go back to them, or should they have a bailout?
Will our tax dollars ever get back to us?
Right.
Look at the money we spend, and the government didn't spend as much as they did the first time around, but this time they went hog wild.
The first time you were bailing somebody out temporarily, but they had a rosy outlook, and this time this goes back to what we've been saying for.
Yeah, there's no roses here.
You subsidized EVs that nobody's going to buy, so they're probably going to end up in a crusher somewhere, never getting used.
Yep.
Hopefully they take the batteries out. Otherwise, the crusher is going to
catch them on fire.
Yeah,
it's going to have a lot of crusher fires.
So once again, your government subsidized something that you didn't want, and ultimately nobody wants it. Nobody's going to use it. They can't. So they're not going to. They've changed their mind about forcing you to use it. So billions of dollars just going to end up in the crushers.
Yeah, it's going to. I'm guaranteeing you. I don't care what anybody says. And I've talked to some more people. I actually talked to a guy this morning that he bought a used Tesla. Mm-hmm. He got it for $34,000.
Okay.
A Model X.
Probably an X, yeah.
And it's got a warranty of it of 100 and, I don't know, but it's 180,000 miles on the battery.
Okay.
And so many 120 months or something. He said it's just fantastic. Well, I'll tell you if it's fantastic or not. Wait till you have to jump in the car and go to Wisconsin because your grandma has got a funeral.
Well, but again, if that fits into his lifestyle, then it works.
Tell him it's going to be a couple days before you get there. That's just how it's going to happen. I just don't get it. These people are flocking to these electric cars. Some are flocking away from them. Most are flocking away from them. But the ones that are buying them, they think this is the future. And it's not. I don't know, Charles. Do you think this is going to happen? There's just so much going on that is negative to the electric car business. And people are laying off and people are shutting down. I mean, what are we going to do?
Well, and I think the interesting thing to think about is I was thinking about the market share, is that we were able to, Elon was able to carve out a spot for himself and things were going well. So Elon had market share, things were going well for him. And then, the big manufacturers had their normal cars. They toyed with EVs, but that wasn't a big part of their market. They toyed with hybrids, but for the most part, they were just making cars like they know how to do, and everything. Like you said, they were getting more efficient. They're polluting less.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
everything was going great. Everything was working fine. And then what happened?
Somebody threw a grenade.
Those 9 words from Ronald Reagan. We're from the government. We're here to help.
And we're here to help. We're going to give you all this money to make sure everybody drives an electric car. Don't worry if their garage catches on fire. We'll buy them a new one of those too.
And people tell me, because I think it's fair to say that people know that I do other radio and things like that. We talk politics and on another station, things like that. People say, well, what is your hang up with government? I said, can you show me the wins? Can you show me the time that they got involved, they monkeyed with something and it worked out well?
Yeah, show me something that succeeded.
Right.
Give me one thing that succeeded.
And I mean, Elon's a perfect example of what happens. His joke was he said, I'm under investigation by every 3-letter agency there is, for things I didn't do, and things I was, they thought I was supposed to do, but I shouldn't have done. So he said, I'm under investigation for things I wasn't supposed to do. So, I mean, that's the whole thing, is that no matter what, because of the politics, he's under so much scrutiny right now, and hopefully, I think things will be a little bit different.
Now he knows
for
how
him.
our president feels.
Well, and that's the point, though, is that, the government likes to monkey with things, and there's really no the plan is spend the money, and then you say, well, what's the outcome? Well, it doesn't matter. We spent the money.
That's right. Their latest thing is they just want to be involved. They
Right.
want to dictate what they want us to do.
And I think that's what you see from a lot of people now, is they're looking at it and saying, well, I don't want the government to be that involved. I want them to be more hands off. I want them to be less involved in my life, regardless of your politics. I mean, at the end of the day, I think most people can agree that you look at what happens. These are your tax dollars. These are your billions and billions of tax dollars going to subsidize things that people didn't want and people didn't need. And now what?
Well, see, I know you, the consumer, you don't feel these billions of dollars coming out of your pocket for these car places,
Right.
But you see it in the grocery store.
You see, well, again,
and you see it
yeah.
in the hardware store. You see it everywhere you go. Everything is going up, 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 and inflation is rising.
Well, that's why we call inflation, it's like the hidden tax, because people look at it and they go, oh, well, we're going to blame somebody else that my eggs are so expensive. No, this is that hidden tax where there's billions of dollars
Exactly.
being spent on these things.
Inflation only happens, like I said earlier, one way. The government spends more
Right.
money than it takes in.
When the government spends $1, your dollar is worth less.
Right. Exactly.